with remains. So then it really comes down to the question of the limitations on your ability as a reverend, that in terms of the South African Anglican Church, the policy as I understand it, and I asked Bishop Makgoba, Archbishop Makgoba to respond and give me some context. And it seems from a document that he published in February that the church, the Anglican Church, and the bishops discussed wanting to make it clear that members of the church who are gay are very welcome, and that children of gay marriages who want to be blessed or baptized are absolutely welcome, but the real line falls in its own leaders. Is there not a kind of contradiction inherent in that? It's sort of, that as much as the church is open to and acknowledges the kind of sin of its flock, it's if you want to use that as a parallel, that people lie, people are dishonest, people cheat on...
Rapists and
yes,
murderers.
and they can come through the doors of the church. But this is the line.
It's. I think that we are reaching the point where we're recognizing that the line is untenable, because it is based on. I'm not quite sure what it's based on, to be perfectly honest. Maybe it's based on a reading of a section of the
Yes.
Bible that is written into a particular community at a particular time, and then sort of extrapolated to apply to all people for all time. And so, when you're talking to a community, to a small community where childbirth is really important, where where the size of your population really matters, then a same-sex relationship is a threat to the growth of the population. When you're talking about a world where we have a population crisis, then you're not talking about the same thing.
So that's a very kind of historical reading of those verses, because I was going to say, what's it based on? The immediate response of someone who's a conservative reader or a very literal reader of religious text would say, well, look at these verses and these sections and boom, there you go. So
yeah, but it's also boom, there you go, you ought to be stoning your daughters for wearing cotton skirts with nylon pantyhose. You shouldn't wear two fabrics at the same time, so let's quit with the literal reading stuff.
And I mean, have you had that kind of message from people, or has the feedback that you've gotten been largely from people who have compassion and insight and understanding into what it's been like for you and your spouse, going through this and all the scrutiny? And
I've had really three kinds of feedback. I would say the smallest amount of feedback has been quite vituperative and very acidic, really. Your devil's spawn kind of reading. So I've had that, but that has been probably the least of what I have had. And then I've had the response of we miss your ministry, and that we're so sorry that this has happened. And then I've had the response, thank you for being willing to bring this conversation out into the open and onto the table.
Sure.
Because I have double advantage. One of being who I am as my father's daughter. That of course it will get into the news because I am my father's daughter. But also have the advantage of not being canonically resident here, and so what I've given up is a license to officiate in South Africa. It's not giving up my holy orders. It's not giving up an ontological I am a priest and I am a priest and I am a priest. Where for other people the experience has been that I really had to make the choice between, am I going to love the person I love and be with the person I love, or am I going to serve God in the church?
And fortunately, it came with its own tensions, but the binary wasn't so stark between the two options.
Exactly.